Hey, managers of the Super Conference. This is your commissioner, Tyler Burkhart, here with the Week 11 recap. I think it's fair to say that this week will definitely go down in the record books. We had some classic upsets. We had some classic divisional rivalries as some separate themselves from the pack. The other basically by a one-way ticket out of the playoffs. So we'll see which of those teams are. Then we'll see out of the 9 teams who has the best and the worst playoff chances, and we'll go through that. So let's get right to the awards. Best Manager of the Week, and in my opinion, I'm going to say the best week so far of the year, I think goes to Kyle Armstrong of the Seattle Sasquatches. All right, so what happened? Well, Kyle traded and got Adrian Peterson, Demaryius Thomas, who I think just alone those two are good. But the fact that you got Maurice Jones-Drew, who I'm actually still skeptical will even play for the rest of the year. I could see Jacksonville just setting him down, especially with him wanting a new contract. But just AP and Thomas alone, he didn't even give up a first or a second round draft pick. And to make things sweeter, Thomas is a great keeper. So he gets Thomas and Gronkowski. Okay, so that trade alone makes him, in my opinion, Manager of the Week. But on top of it, he puts up the most fantasy points for Week 11, beating a division rival. I think he almost doubled his score. And now he's got the outright division lead. Tell me any other week that a manager had a better week than that one right there. Classic example of why someone makes a move, puts up some big points. He didn't even play Peterson because he was on a bye this week. Just unbelievable. Good week for Kyle. Worst Manager of the Week goes to Brian Kleinschmidt of the New York Yankees. And I completely agree with Kyle's assessment and his awards. That wasn't necessarily because of something he did. It was just rather it was the worst or most negative impact to his team. It all comes down to the decision of the play Matt Shaw or Carson Palmer. And if I was in that position, I don't know what I would have done. It's really easy for us to say now, well, oh yeah, we would have played Matt Shaw. But with the week that Carson had the previous week, I don't know who I would have played. Usually when it comes down to a toss-up, I ask myself this simple question. What are they playing for? What do they have to play for? Because especially quarterbacks tend to play at a higher level if they have more on the line. Matt Shaw, obviously playing for the playoffs and to keep that number 1 ranking in the AFC. Carson Palmer, I don't know, he's pretty much out of the playoffs and going against a very hungry New Orleans team who definitely showed it on defense this week. I don't know. So it's really easy for me to say I might play Matt Shaw, but I can understand playing Carson Palmer. Tough decision there, but it cost him the game against Kiln. All right, so the game of the week, I know a lot of people are going to pick the classic Yankees-Kiln matchup, but I'm going to go with the Oakland Velos against Portland. The reason why was I still think Portland had a shot even after making the trades. I think he had a sliver of hope anytime you have Arian Foster. But Oakland clearly shut the door. And I think it's also a more important game because it really shows Oakland has a great shot now in making the playoffs. I actually think I'm going to consider Carson as the Manager of the Year. How many of us, including myself, said that Carson was going to be in the bottom 3 or 4 of the league this year. And here he has a great shot at making the playoffs. Got Kelvin Johnson, Des Bryant, Sean Green, great depth. Not great players, but together they've put up big weeks when it's mattered most. And because of that, Carson is where he is today. Way to go. The upset special, not a David versus Goliath, but it's kind of like the real, almost like Yankees versus the Oakland A's in the playoffs, and Oakland pulls off the upset. The fun fact is Kiln would have actually beaten 10 other teams that week. I mean, it's just unbelievable to think that. That's why I always say there's going to be a week where Kiln and Minnesota, and we'll get to that in a second, will pull off the upset even though they've given up on the season. So there is no guaranteed win in fantasy football. The great thing about it. The most valuable player of the week, going with the Kiln Legend theme, is Justin Blackmon. I still wouldn't put Justin Blackmon in my top 50 wide receivers, I think. Okay, maybe not top 50, but top 40, I really don't think I would. And, it's kind of funny because if I get in the playoffs, it's because probably of Justin Blackmon's outrageous 28, 30-point game. So, completely has me dumbfounded, but, that's fantasy football for you. Fantasy dart of the week, I got to go with Matt Ryan for San Fran Frenzy. 5 interceptions. He's probably going to be, Josh's keeper. He only put up 1.4 fantasy points when really this was the most important game of the year for San Fran. It was a do-or-die game. He didn't deliver. Even if he did, he still would have lost. But, it was a clear question that he wasn't going to win when you have your best player putting up those points. So, pretty upsetting for Josh there as his season comes to an end. All right, so let's get to the rankings. You're not going to see a lot of movement, but I want to talk about the playoff implications here. Once again, in my mind, I still think Seattle, Green Bay, Indianapolis are the top 3 teams. They're the most well-rounded teams. San Diego not far behind at the 4th spot. The interesting thing is, because both those 4 teams are in only 2 divisions, I still have a feeling that one of the 4 will not get in. I know it's really easy to say for us to say that Green Bay or Indianapolis will get in. I know it's real tempting for us to say that. But I could see an upset of brewing where one of these 4 teams lose out and they don't get in. So none of these teams are a lock. In the same sense, because of the schedules coming down to the end, I think most likely definitely 3 of the 4 will get in, if not all 4. Then we move to number 5, Oakland. Oakland's 50-50 along with San Antonio, who you see at the 7th spot. I moved Oakland up because his team's healthy and San Antonio's not. Huge injuries to Fred Jackson and Willis McGahee. I think that's going to really hurt San Antonio there. But Oakland's pretty healthy. He's on the rise, so things are looking good. And I have Fargo right in the middle at number 6. So Oakland, San Antonio, 50-50. Fargo, his schedule looks really good. So that's why I almost want to say that the Seattle and San Diego, one of the 2 will get in. Fargo looks like he could win out, and 9-4 gets him in. So real interesting things are brewing there. And then meanwhile, 8-9, New York and Washington. I think 80% chance New York gets in, 20% chance I get in. But still, really anything can happen there. So we'll see what happens this week. And then from 10 to 16, those are the teams that are pretty much mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. Do note, I moved Minnesota higher than the LA Quakes because simply I would rather play I'd rather play LA right now than the Minnesota Bryans. So just a little food for thought there. Okay, so let's get to the Week 12 predictions here. Game of the week, definitely Washington Stimulus versus Seattle Sasquatches. Has the most playoff implications on the line. Now, if Seattle wins, he's in the playoffs. New York Yankees is in the playoffs, and I'm out. However, if I win, I stay alive, and then Kyle and Brian both have must-win games in Week 13 to make the playoffs. So we'll have to see what happens here, but this will really impact a lot of managers, including also Fargo and San Diego. Also, if you know Kyle and I, we look forward to this matchup every season, and I wanted to hold this off to Week 12 because I knew we would most likely be in the playoff hunt entering Week 12. So it's fun to have those implications on the line this late in the game. Upset special of the week. We saw Kiln do it last week. Get ready. Minnesota's going to do it this week against San Antonio. The McGahee injury not only happened in San Antonio and the fact that he doesn't have McGahee now, but guess who is Ronnie Hillman? Minnesota. So that, I think, is really going to hurt him as well as the Mike Wallace and Roddy White combination. Finally, the prediction winners for Week 11 goes to Indianapolis and Washington. They'll get $5 FAB. I'm your Commissioner, Tyler Burkhart. Game on.